Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. You may have already heard, perhaps I'm late to the party, but it's been finalised that Sal Canelo Alvarez and Terence Bud Crawford will meet on September the 13th of this year. This is a jump of 2 weights for Crawford. He's had one fight at 154. Prior to that, he became unified, undisputed welterweight champion. And he's now jumping up to 168 to fight Canelo, who's been long established at the weight. You don't need me to tell you much about Crawford and Canelo. I'm sure you know all about them. Canelo currently has 63 wins, 2 draws and 2 defeats. Very similar to Marvin Hagler's record when he quit boxing after they disputed loss to Sugar Ray Leonard. Crawford, that's 39 KOs, by the way, with Canelo. Crawford, 41-0 with 31 KOs. And this will be on Netflix. Now, this is the interesting bit to me. I'm not going to make a prediction of the fight yet because anything can happen between now and September. September might as well be 100 years away. Nowadays, an hour is like a day in terms of news. Things change so quickly. But Canelo, very sort of bullish, as you would expect. He said on September the 13th, I'm ready to show once again that I am the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. I'm super happy to be making history again, and this time on a Riyadh season card that will be broadcast on Netflix. Now, this is the bit that interests me currently, is the Netflix involvement. This is going to be, I think... there were rumours that our friend the Excellent Turkey and Dana White it was not going to be a fruitful relationship. There may have been behind the scenes, disputes or disagreements. They couldn't see eye to eye. And that seems to have been put to bed because the promotion will be in association with Dana White. I don't know. Turkey's going to retain, I would imagine, he's the main power broker because of all that money. But White, I don't like White. I don't like what he represents, what he is. He underpays his UFC fighters appallingly. The UFC is a closed shop. It's basically a dictatorship. Fighters have virtually no rights. They have to take what they're given. Once they sort of take the king's shilling, so to speak, they've got to be prepared to have their heads blown off. But yeah, I don't like White at all. He is a quintessential vulture capitalist. Not that I have a high opinion of Turkey, to be honest, with the sort of things he's gotten up to in the past. But the point is that White is involved. But it's the Netflix thing that interests me because there is no additional pay-per-view charge. If you're a Netflix subscriber, this fight is included in the existing package. Now, we saw this with the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson horrendous debacle, horrible, disgusting thing. I covered that fight because this is a boxing channel and people wanted me to, but hand on heart, if I'd not been running this channel, I would have switched it off after a couple of rounds. Just an obscene farce. And it actually goes on their BoxRec records. Mike Tyson has an official loss to Jake Paul. Do me a fucking favour. What a load of rubbish. But anyway. The point is that no pay-per-view will be necessary. And that was the most interesting thing about the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. And it is the most interesting thing about this fight for me. Because I essentially think this fight it's not one of those gimmick fights, kind of like Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. That's not to say it won't deliver. It may well deliver. But it's still a gimmick fight because you've got a guy jumping up 2 weights. And yes, I know in the past, fighters jumped up weights to fight bigger men and so on. This goes way, way, way back, over 100 years. But in this day and age with modern day training methods, nutrition, the understanding that we have of the body, the fact that human beings have become naturally bigger over the last century, and weight divisions were introduced for a reason. You ain't going to get a sort of Tommy Burns size fighter holding the heavyweight championship of the world. A 5 foot 8-inch guy or whatever, 5'7" guy who weighs about 180 pounds, not even that, holding the heavyweight title. You know, it's a different era with different physiology. But that's not to say Canelo. That's not to say Bud can't win. He can win. He can win. You know, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But there's no doubt that, you know, the old adage about a good big one will beat a good little one does apply for a reason. Cliches, stereotypes normally exist because there's some truth to them. And also, I've always been skeptical of Canelo's training method, shall we say. We saw Munguia fail a PED test recently. Canelo himself has failed. The fact that he's settled into super middleweight looking so stocky, so powerful, so broad, always made me suspicious. But anyway, having said that, I did see a picture of Bud and Canelo posing with that repulsive tabloid hack Piers Morgan. Apparently they're going to be on his show, poor bastards. And he didn't look that much bigger than Bud, Canelo. Morgan was sort of standing between them. They were sitting, I think. So it's difficult to say. Maybe if they stood up, you'd see the size difference. But Morgan was in the middle, like a sort of fart between two butt cheeks. And I'd like to see them. Face-off will be interesting to see how much bigger Canelo is. Because let's not forget, Canelo, I mean, he turned pro very young. He was 15 and he was only a super featherweight. But, you know, he made his sort of bones at 154, was dragging Golovkin down, waiting for him to get old, and you know, then he moved to middleweight. But I'm not big enough for middleweight, man. And then suddenly he's a super middleweight, and he's unifying the division within a year. It's, you know, we'll see. But like I say, the fact that this is not a pay-per-view broadcast, I think, kind of proves pretty much conclusively that pay-per-view, which had been peddled as by everyone from Hearn to Warren to Aram to everyone else, De La Hoya, oh no, we need pay-per-view to pay the wages of you know, all these different people, of these elite fighters. No, you don't. You do not need pay-per-view. Pay-per-view is a construct. It's one form of selling tickets. It's one form of it's one business model. And Netflix, what they're doing now with Netflix, is a very different form of business model. Now, with Netflix, of course, Netflix is not a sporting platform. But if boxing gets involved, and maybe other sports get involved with Netflix, you know, I mean, you're talking. What are you talking? How many subscribers? How many people subscribe to Netflix? I don't even know. It's got to be. It's tens of millions, probably a couple of hundred. I don't know. Is it 100 million? 200 million? I don't even know. But I do know that the Mike Tyson Jake Paul thing had 65 million streams. Okay, so that's not chump change, and there was no pay-per-view involved. So it's kind of put to bed this, and I've always considered it to be a very stupid belief that it's actually a manufactured belief that pay-per-view is necessary for the biggest fights of all. No, it's not. It never has been. I've never believed. That's why I haven't bought a pay-per-view since 1996. And I won't buy pay-per-views because I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm not some sort of, you know, chump who falls into that category of what Barnum said, you know, there's one born every minute. P.T. Barnum was wrong. There isn't one born every minute. There's probably 1 million people born every minute who are gullible. I'm not gullible. So I think that if boxing gets involved with Netflix, if they can arrange to do more of these contests within Netflix, which has, you know, 200, I don't know what it is, hundreds of millions of subscribers. Obviously, most of the people, or many of the people who have Netflix, they won't be interested in the sporting events because they get it for the movies and the TV shows. But then if you subscribe to, who doesn't like a nice movie, a good movie or a TV show? If you subscribe to Netflix, if you're a big boxing fan, you subscribe to Netflix, you think, okay, I'm getting all these TV shows, all these films, and I'm getting boxing that would have been on pay-per-view. I'm getting it free, or part of my subscription on Netflix. No one's going to turn that down, or very few people are going to turn that down. So I think this is a very interesting development, it really was eyebrow raising, the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul thing. And I think this will be a massive success as well. I can't see how it's not going to be, because you've got two of the biggest names in boxing. The only name, currently active name, that can rival these two is Alexander Usyk. So yeah, the next generation of boxers, the big names, are going to have some a different model, a different business model. They're going to make their money in a different way, I think. And promoters will have to stop this with this, completely disingenuous, dishonest narrative of, we need pay-per-view. And the public, of course, well, it's only 25, it's only 20 quid, it's only 25 quid, I can afford that. I'll go and take my money. Stop being such simps. This is the modern era. You can watch fights by other means, as we say. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got any thoughts on this, on the fight or the platform or anything, leave them below if you've got any thoughts. And please, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit the like button if you like the video. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And bye for now.